Take a breath, not a hurried breath, not a breath pulled from the frantic world outside, but a quiet, deliberate breath drawn from the deepest part of your being. Let the mind grow still. Let the noise of the day fall away, as though it never existed. For there is something I must tell you, something ancient, something simple, something that has waited patiently within you since the beginning of your life. And you have not arrived here by accident. You did not stumble into these words by chance, or curiosity, or idle wandering. You were brought here, gently, silently, by the unseen movement of your own desire. For every desire contains within itself the power to fulfill its purpose. And if you stand here tonight with longing in your heart, it is because its fulfillment is already woven into your being. We have been taught to believe that life begins outside, that we must see first, prove first, touch first, and then feel. But I tell you the truth. Feeling comes first. Reality follows. The world you know, your relationships, your finances, your opportunities, your very sense of self, is nothing but the echo of a feeling once accepted as true. The seen is born of the unseen. The world without is shaped by the world within. You have believed, perhaps, that life must change before you may feel peace, abundance, or fulfillment. But tonight, you shall reverse that order. Tonight, you shall learn to feel first and let reality bow before your state. Now, before we go deeper, I must ask something of you. Not as a ritual, not as superstition, but as a conscious declaration of readiness. In my time on earth, I often told my students that nothing is received until it is claimed. If you truly feel ready, if something in you knows that you are prepared to step into a new state, declare it. Not to me, not to others, but to yourself. Publicly, boldly, as an act of inward acceptance. Write these words in the comments. Simple yet powerful. I'm ready to receive. Let it be your first creative act tonight. Let it be the opening of the door. For when you declare a state, you invite the universe to mirror it. Do not whisper your readiness in silence. Speak it into form. Let these words be your first step across the threshold. Because from this moment on, we shall not seek, we shall not beg, we shall not wait. We shall assume. We shall feel first. And when the feeling is accepted, reality must follow. Now breathe again, slowly, and walk with me into the inner world, where all creation begins. Now we begin. If you understand only one thing I say tonight, let it be this. Feeling is the cause of all creation. Not effort, not struggle, not willpower, not long hours of toil. Creation does not begin with action. Action emerges as the shadow of a deeper movement, a change in state. The world has taught you that you must do first and feel later. But in truth, the law works in perfect reverse. You feel first, and the world arranges itself accordingly. The visible does not create the invisible. The invisible creates the visible. This physical world, with all its forms and conditions, is nothing more than your imagination pushed out, given shape, substance, and chronology. Every experience you have ever called real was once an unseen feeling within you, a state accepted quietly, sometimes even unconsciously. You may believe that events in your past forced you to feel a certain way, but I say to you, those events unfolded because of a state you held first, a state that invited them into form. You have never felt anything without summoning its corresponding world. You can test this. Recall a time you felt powerless, not for a moment, but deeply, persistently. Did not life provide you endless proof of that very powerlessness? Recall a time you felt fortunate, blessed, even briefly carried by unseen winds. Did not life open doors with impossible ease? States create events, not the other way around. Most people describe life. They walk through their days saying, "This is how things are. This is what I have. This is what is happening to me." And by describing the world, they bind themselves to the very conditions they wish to escape. But I do not describe. I decree. I speak not of what is, but of what must be. For I know that what I assume as true within me must appear without. This is the great reversal of consciousness. The moment you stop taking orders from circumstances and begin issuing commands to them. Let me say it plainly. The world outside is reactive. The world within is creative. The senses report the past. The imagination writes the future. You are not here to react. You are here to create. And when you feel a thing as true, even in the absence of evidence, you have planted a seed in the depths of being. It will grow, not because you beg, not because you struggle, but because you have accepted it. Every desire carries its own fulfillment. You need not chase it. You need only claim the state in which its fulfillment is natural. Do not ask the world to show you change. Change, and the world will follow. Feeling is the cause. Reality is the effect. This is the law. Now we continue. Let us now draw a line, clear, sharp, unmistakable, between what the world calls thought and what I call feeling. For many believe they are creating. When they think, they repeat words, they recite affirmations, they visualize scenes, and they wonder why nothing changes. They say, I think about wealth every day. I visualize success. I repeat the words again and again. But thought alone does nothing. You may think and still doubt. You may affirm and still fear. You may visualize and still feel lack. Thought can inspire. Thought can clarify. Thought can point the way. But thought cannot create. Creation begins only when thought sinks deep enough to become feeling. Let me say it plainly. The mind can desire, but it is the heart that gives birth. You can think, I want abundance, but if you feel, it frightens me, it is out of reach, I do not deserve it. The subconscious accepts the feeling, not the idea. The subconscious does not hear your words. It ignores your desires. It responds only to what you feel to be true. This is why so many fail. They visualize wealth, yet feel anxiety. They repeat, I am prosperous, but feel shame when they speak it. They imagine a lover, yet feel unworthy of love. And so the subconscious, loyal and obedient, brings forth more of what is felt, not what is wished. Let me give you an example. A woman once came to me who spent hours each day imagining herself wealthy. She would picture herself in fine homes, running her fingers over polished wood, seeing bank books filled with large balances. Yet her financial conditions worsened. Why? Because as she imagined these scenes, a quiet voice within whispered, you know this is not yours. You are only pretending. Her picture was wealth, but her feeling was lack. And lack, not the picture, was what took root. Do you see? A seed cannot grow if planted in contradictory soil. If you imagine abundance, but carry the emotional vibration of poverty, you have not created a new state, only polished the old one. The subconscious receives only one command, and that command is feeling. When a thought is saturated with feeling, it sinks downward into the subconscious, takes root, and begins to harden into fact. It is not the scene that matters. It is your acceptance of the scene as real. The world tells you to earn your feeling from conditions. Feel wealthy when you have money. Feel loved when someone loves you. Feel confident when you succeed. But this is slavery to circumstance. The law demands the opposite. Feel wealthy first, and money must follow. Feel loved first, and love must appear. Feel successful first, and success becomes inevitable. It may seem backwards only because you have lived forwards for too long. You have waited for the world to give you permission to feel, but creation reverses the order entirely. It says feel now, and the world will adjust. This is why I do not ask you to think positively. Thinking positively without feeling is a leaf blown by the wind. I ask you to assume, to wear the feeling from within, to embody it as your natural state. For a thought may pass, but a feeling remains. And what remains becomes real. We continue. When you understand that feeling is the cause, you begin to see that emotion is not a reaction to life, but the bridge by which the unseen crosses into form. The world believes that emotion comes after an event, after the good news, after the achievement, after the lover returns, after the money arrives. But I say to you, the event is only the echo. The true moment of creation is when you feel its reality before a single fact appears. Emotion is the lifeblood of the invisible world. It is the force that animates the picture, the breath that turns imagination into substance. The desire without feeling is like a body without a soul, beautiful perhaps, but lifeless. It cannot walk, it cannot move, it cannot create. This is why I tell you that feeling is the soul of desire. It is the inner acceptance that says, this is mine, even when your senses deny it. When a man feels a thing as true, fully, quietly, naturally, it becomes part of his identity. And what becomes identity must become experience. The world simply reflects the truth you carry within. Over the years, I have watched countless men and women transform their lives, not by effort, but by feeling. One man, unemployed and humiliated, imagined nightly that he was addressed with respect, asked for advice, consulted as a man of value. He did not picture the employer, nor the building, nor the desk. He felt the honor of being needed. Within weeks, he was offered a position he never sought, in a field he had not considered, at a salary others called impossible. But I tell you, the position did not create the feeling. The feeling created the position. A woman longing for love did not chase affection, did not plead for attention. She sat in silence each night and felt the warmth of companionship, the ease of being cherished, the comfort of belonging. She felt not the man, but the state of being loved. And then, as though summoned by an invisible hand, a man appeared who loved her exactly in the manner she had felt. She believed he brought her love, but no, she brought the feeling, and he was drawn to it. Another, burdened by bills and driven to despair, did not affirm riches nor count coins. Instead, he allowed himself to feel relief, the deep, physical exhale that comes when obligations are met and abundance flows. The relief became his constant companion, even when his pockets were empty. Soon, opportunities emerged, debts dissolved, and money flowed through channels he had never imagined. It was not the money that gave him relief. The relief gave him money. This is the great secret. What you accept as true accepts you in return. You do not wait for the world to validate your feeling. The feeling itself is the validation. It is the signature placed upon the invisible contract. The world must honor it. When you feel something deeply and consistently, the subconscious adopts it as law. And once the subconscious accepts a state, the world must rearrange itself to match. People behave differently. Circumstances shift. Events unfold. Letters arrive. Opportunities open. And none of these things are accidents. They are the footprints of your assumption walking across the earth. Some say, "But Neville, I feel wealthy for a moment, and then the feeling fades." And I answer, no seed becomes a tree. The instant it is planted, you must persist in the feeling until it becomes natural, until it no longer feels like pretending but remembering. When the feeling becomes natural, when it no longer excites you, but simply is, then the outer world must conform. And I do not ask you to believe blindly. You may test this law as a scientist tests a hypothesis. Choose something small, if you must, a letter, a call, a word of praise, and feel its truth before there is evidence. Do not strain, do not repeat, simply rest in the state of already having received. The result will come, and when it does, you will not marvel at the event, but at the law behind it. For creation is not chaotic, it is ordered, precise, obedient. Feel the state, and the state will clothe itself in form. What you accept as true accepts you in return. Let us go deeper. You need no greater proof of the power of feeling than the responses you have already experienced in your own body. Think of a moment in your past that brought sorrow or fear. You may sit here now in a quiet room, safe, untouched by danger, yet if you remember that moment vividly enough, your body reacts as if it were present again. Your heart quickens, your breath shortens, your stomach tightens. A memory, nothing more than a shadow, produces physical sensation. This alone should tell you something extraordinary. The body does not distinguish between what is physically happening and what is felt to be happening. Your nervous system responds not to events, but to assumptions. A man sitting quietly can be thrown into panic by a thought. Another, surrounded by chaos, may feel a deep and unshakable calm because inwardly he has assumed safety. The body bends to the feeling, not the circumstance. And if the body obeys the feeling, the world will follow. For the outer world is simply the continuation of the inner one. Now, if a painful memory can influence the present purely through feeling, then a desirable state, felt deeply, can do the same. The principle is identical. When you recall distress, you summon distress. When you recall abundance, or rather assume it, you summon abundance. The body becomes a servant of the inner command. Let us test this now, not in theory, but through experience. Do not struggle for imagery. Let it come softly. If you were to receive unexpected money, money that required no effort, no sacrifice, no pleading, how would your body respond? Do not think of the number. Do not calculate the source. Those belong to the world of means, and means are merely shadows of assumption. I want you to feel only the moment of receiving. Let the scene be simple, almost ordinary, as real events often are. You are holding a sealed envelope, perhaps from a bank, perhaps from a friend, perhaps from a source you could not predict. You do not yet know what it contains, but there is a quiet curiosity stirring within you. You tear the top open, not with excitement, but with a calm familiarity, as though such moments are natural for you. Your eyes fall upon a check. The amount is more than sufficient. It carries a sense of relief, completion, and increase. There is no shock, no disbelief, only a gentle exhale, as if the world has finally aligned with what you always knew to be yours. Do not force yourself to feel joy. Simply feel the easing of pressure. Feel the shoulders drop. Feel the breath deepen. Feel the subtle warmth spreading through the chest. This is the moment creation begins, for the body is now acting as though the event has occurred, and the subconscious accepts the body's reaction as truth. You need not shout, nor strain, nor repeat 1,000 affirmations silently. You need only allow this feeling to take root. Let me guide you deeper. Imagine now walking across the room, holding that envelope. Listen to the faint sound of paper as it brushes your hand. Sense the texture between your fingers. Feel the weight, not physically, but symbolically, of having been provided for. Sit down. Place it on a table. Let your body rest in the knowledge that the matter is settled. The world rushes to meet the man who feels fulfilled. You must understand this scene is not a fantasy. It is a rehearsal for reality. You are establishing within yourself the emotional signature of the state you wish to embody. Once the feeling is natural, the subconscious must outpicture it as fact. This is no different from the memory of sorrow that crept into your body moments ago. You accepted the memory, and the body submitted. Now you accept abundance, and life will submit. The mechanism is the same. What you feel as true becomes true. Let the feeling linger a moment longer, not as a performance, not as an effort, but as a quiet recognition. Do not think, when will this happen? Do not ask, how shall it come? These questions belong to the world of doubt. The feeling itself is the fulfillment. Release the scene now. Let it dissolve into silence. Carry only the aftertaste, the feeling of a burden lifted, of paths opening, of life bending in your favor. For the world to mirror this state, you must allow it to become ordinary within you. The miracle begins when the extraordinary feels natural. We go further. The subconscious does not recognize time as the conscious mind does. It has no grasp of past or future, no sense of later, no anticipation of tomorrow. It lives entirely within the eternal present. Whatever you feel now is the reality it accepts. Whatever you believe now is the truth it outpictures. And so when a man says, I will be wealthy, I will be loved, I will be healed, he creates an endless postponement. For the subconscious hears only the state of lack implied in the statement. I will is the confession that I am not. The desire is cast into a horizon that never arrives. A man may walk for years declaring, one day I shall prosper, and yet remain precisely where he stands, because he has never entered the state of prosperity. He has only admired it from afar. He has spoken of it as a distant star, rather than as the breath within his own chest. He waits for the world to give him permission to feel what he could claim now. He prays for a future he refuses to inhabit in the present. The subconscious hears only one kind of language, the language of being. Not I will, not I hope, not I desire, but I am. When you say, I am wealthy, you are not making a promise. You are making a declaration of identity. When you say, I am loved, you are not requesting affection. You are acknowledging the state from which affection flows. When you say, I am chosen, I am secure, I am healed, you are not describing an event. You are embodying the condition that produces it. This is why the most sacred name in Scripture is simply, I am. When Moses asked the Eternal, what is thy name? The answer was not a title or form, not an external deity, not a force outside man. The answer was, I am that I am. Not I shall be, nor I once was, but I am. Pure being, pure presence, pure existence. It is the name you speak every time you make a statement of identity, whether you realize it or not. When you say, I am worthless, you have taken the name of God in vain. When you say, I am undeserving, you have clothed the infinite in rags. When you say, I am afraid, you have turned the creative power of the universe against yourself. But when you say, I am blessed, you awaken blessings. When you say, I am beloved, you become the magnet of affection. When you say, I am wealthy, wealth must seek you, not because of words, but because of the identity you assume. The subconscious does not interpret statements philosophically. It does not negotiate. It obeys. It takes the feeling behind the words as law. If there is no feeling, there is no decree. If there is feeling but no words, the feeling alone will create. Words without feeling are empty. Feeling without words is unstoppable. You must understand the enormity of this truth. The subconscious receives state, not syllable. So when you speak as one who already has, the subconscious begins to organize circumstances. To match your inner assumption, people move into position. Opportunities arise. Obstacles dissolve. The world bends to you, not because it favors you arbitrarily, but because it is compelled to mirror the state you occupy. But if you continue to wait, to hope, to anticipate, you remain in the state of waiting, and life obligingly keeps you waiting. The man who says, I will praise to a future that never comes. The man who says, I am, commands a present that must appear. Now let me illustrate this simply. Imagine a man who wishes to be healthy. He may say, one day I shall recover. His tone carries longing, not fulfillment. He rises each morning seeking evidence of healing. Each day he searches his body for signs of progress. Each night he laments that nothing has changed. His state is the state of waiting. His feeling is the feeling of absence. His prayer is a postponement. Another man says nothing of future recovery. He simply assumes the state of wholeness. He feels vitality as though it were already coursing through his body. He walks, speaks, and rests as one restored. He gives no thought to symptoms, no attention to lack. He embodies health in silence, and the subconscious accepts it. Soon his body reflects the state he adopted, not because he earned it, but because he claimed it. One man hopes, the other assumes. One prays to time, the other prays through being. One says, it will be, the other says, it is, and it is the second who transforms his world. Recognize that every I am is not merely a phrase, but a creative act. It is a seed planted in the depths of consciousness. The world must bear fruit from that seed. For consciousness is cause, and the world is the harvest of identity. Feel now the shift within you as you move from future to present. Let the mind rest in the truth that you need not ask, not seek, not chase. You need only be. I am. I am already. I am now. The rest follows in silence. There is a sacred moment each night when the boundary between the conscious and subconscious begins to dissolve. It is the moment just before sleep, when the mind is no longer fully awake, yet not surrendered to dreams. In this threshold, thought no longer argues, logic no longer resists, and the subconscious stands open, receptive, impressionable, obedient. I call this state Sats, the state akin to sleep. It is the doorway to creation. You have experienced states countless times without knowing its power. It is that drifting sensation when the body grows heavy, the limbs warm, and the world seems distant, as though floating. You are neither awake nor asleep, but poised gently between both realms. In this state, the imagination is unfettered, and the feeling of a thing, once assumed, passes directly into the subconscious without interference. This is not daydreaming, for daydreaming belongs to the waking mind. It is not lucid dreaming, for that belongs to the sleeping mind. Satis is the twilight, the gateway through which you may step into your chosen state and plant it as a seed in the depths of being. To enter Satis, you need not effort. You need not posture yourself rigidly. You need not strain. Strain belongs to wakefulness, and wakefulness is resistance. Instead, lie down as you would naturally to sleep. Let the body grow comfortable, not as a ritual, but as a surrender. Allow the breath to soften. Allow the thoughts to quiet, not by force, but by indifference. You do not silence a restless mind by fighting it. You silence it by ceasing to care. As drowsiness approaches, you will feel a shift, not dramatic, but subtle, a sense of floating, a gentle detachment from the physical body, as though the limbs dissolve into space. In this softened state, imagination becomes real. Your senses become secondary. The inner world becomes dominant. Here is where most fail. They visualize, but they do not feel. They create elaborate scenes, build houses in the mind, count imaginary money, rehearse conversations with fictional figures, yet remain emotionally untouched. These efforts, though vivid, are lifeless. They are shadows without substance. A scene in Sates must not be complex. A scene must be simple, repeatable, and saturated with feeling. It need not contain every detail. It need only imply fulfillment. If you desire money, do not imagine vaults of gold or vast estates. Those scenes require effort and distance you from the feeling itself. Instead, imagine the simple act of holding a bank statement, showing a balance that brings relief. Or imagine a loved one saying, "I'm so happy things worked out for you." Or imagine the ease of paying a bill with complete calm. If you desire love, do not construct romantic fantasies. Feel the warmth of being wanted. Feel the presence of companionship. Feel yourself being held, even if the face remains unseen. If you desire healing, do not picture your organs and cells. Feel the lightness of health. Feel yourself rising from bed filled with strength. Feel breath flowing freely. The scene is the container. The feeling is the life within it. Now let me guide you through the process as I taught it to students seated in small halls, long before these teachings reached the ears of millions. As you lie in bed tonight, close your eyes when the first wave of sleepiness comes, not the last, not when consciousness has already escaped you, but the first gentle wave. In that moment, call forth a short scene, something that would happen after your desire is fulfilled, not before. You are not imagining the process, you are imagining the result. If the desire is abundance, imagine yourself saying to a friend, "It worked out exactly as I hoped." Feel the tone of certainty in your own voice. Feel their hand on your arm. Feel the warmth of gratitude rising from within. Do not merely watch yourself say the words. Feel yourself speaking them. Be inside your body, not observing it. Repeat the scene as though it were a soft lullaby, not forcefully, not urgently, not mechanically, but gently, as though remembering something that already happened. The subconscious does not distinguish memory from imagination. If you remember the scene as though it were true, it accepts it as truth. Do not visualize to see, visualize to feel. The images may fade, blur, dissolve. That does not matter. If the feeling remains, the work is done. If you fall asleep in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, your subconscious completes the creation while you rest. Avoid two errors. Do not strain to stay conscious. If you do, you return to effort. Do not drift without direction. If you do, you fall asleep in the old state. Let sleep arrive naturally, but let the final impression upon your mind be that of fulfillment. When you awake, resist the urge to check whether anything has changed. The seed does not sprout the moment it is planted. Your only task is to persist in the feeling whenever you remember. The world will handle the unfolding. Sats is not a technique. It is the womb of creation. Whatever feeling you carry into that sacred threshold becomes flesh. Now rest a moment and feel this truth. You are no longer a seeker. You are the creator entering his workshop. There exists a principle so simple, so direct, that most overlook it, even though they live by its effects every day. It is the law of reversibility. If a physical event can produce a certain emotional state, then that emotional state assumed inwardly must produce the physical event. The bridge between cause and effect is not the act, but the feeling. Think of the last time money unexpectedly entered your life. Perhaps a debt was forgiven, a payment cleared sooner than expected, or a gift arrived without warning. Before the money appeared, you were tense, your shoulders lifted, breath shallow. stomach tight with uncertainty. But the moment the news reached you, what happened? The body relaxed. The breath deepened. A sense of relief washed over you. Not because you decided to relax, but because the event created the feeling. You never question that sequence. What you fail to see is that the sequence may be reversed. If receiving money creates relief, then relief assumed now must create the circumstances that justify it. If hearing good news creates joy, then joy felt now must produce the event that brings good news. If success produces confidence, then confidence assumed must open the path to success. The emotion is not a reaction, it is the cause. This is the meaning behind the verse. To him that hath, it shall be given. He who has the feeling of possession receives more. He who lacks the feeling, even what he has, is taken away. The emotional state precedes the event that validates it. The world is not moved by your desires, your wishes, your pleas. It is moved by the state you occupy. I will guide you through this now, not as a lecture, but as an experience. Imagine waking tomorrow morning, not in the world of worry, nor in the lingering residue of yesterday's burdens, but in an atmosphere of quiet certainty. You open your eyes, and though nothing has yet happened outwardly, there is a knowing within you that the matter is settled. You touch the sheets, sit up slowly, stretch, and as your feet touch the floor, there is no heaviness. There is no mental calculation of debts or deadlines. There is only calm. You walk through your room with an unfamiliar ease. The day feels safe, as if it has already agreed to unfold in your favor. Breakfast tastes richer. The air feels softer. Conversations later in the day flow naturally. You are not waiting for deliverance. You are living from it. Ask yourself, must something have happened in the physical world to justify this peace? No. Yet if you sustain this peace, the world must reorganize itself to match. The subconscious accepts the feeling as the cause, and life, obedient to the law, arranges the effect. Let me deepen this further. You have felt dread before receiving a bill. You have felt relief after paying it. But what if you felt relief before the bill arrived? What if, instead of anticipating difficulty, you anticipated the ease of resolution? The outer world would have no choice but to conform, for the world is not separate from you. It is your consciousness externalized. Do not wait for proof to feel secure. Feel secure now, and proof will come. Do not wait for success to feel confident. Feel confident now, and success will rise to meet you. Do not wait for abundance to relax. Relax now, and abundance must flow to match the state. Now close your eyes for a moment. Let the breath loosen. Release the weight from your shoulders. Imagine that the financial chapter you have been carrying, perhaps silently, is resolved. Imagine no tension around money. Imagine the bills paid, accounts replenished, obligations fulfilled. Do not imagine how it happened. Do not calculate the source. Simply step into the feeling of completion, a gentle calm, a soft exhale, a sense of permeability, as though life is open again. Stay in this state as long as it feels natural. If you were truly provided for right now, this is how your body would feel. And if the body feels it, the subconscious accepts it. And if the subconscious accepts it, the world must produce the event that validates the assumption. The law does not fail. Whenever you sense doubt rising, do not argue with it. Do not attempt to overpower it with words. Simply return to the feeling of fulfillment. The emotion is the key. Words are but servants. The feeling is the decree. Hold the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and the world will justify it in its own perfect way. The moment you assume a new state, even if only for a breath, creation begins. But the world you see with your senses is slow to catch up. It reflects the past, not the present. It is the echo of what you once believed, not the prophecy of what you now feel. This delay confuses many, and in their confusion they abandon the new state too soon. They assume abundance at night, but wake to the same bank balance in the morning. And because nothing appears different, they conclude that the assumption failed. In truth, it did not fail. They did. They return to the old state by reacting to appearances. The outer world is not a cause, it is an effect. And if you continue judging by the effect, you anchor yourself to the past. Do not look to the world for confirmation. Look to your inner feeling and persist. If you plant a seed in soil, the seed begins its work immediately. It expands, divides, reaches, transforms. But none of this is visible on the surface. The earth appears undisturbed. The field looks unchanged. To the impatient eye, nothing is happening. But beneath the soil, life is already unfolding. The unseen always precedes the seen. So it is with assumption. A man assumes wealth, health, or love, and the very next day, his senses present him with the remnants of old beliefs. If he reacts, if he grows discouraged, if he doubts, if he judges by appearances, he uproots the seed, he returns to lack, and lack becomes his harvest. You must ignore appearances, not deny them, not resist them, but see through them. Understand that what is before your eyes is old news, a memory, a photograph of a state you have already outgrown. I recall a woman who came to one of my lectures in Los Angeles. She was a school teacher, modest in means, burdened with debt, and convinced that life had fixed her in a place of limitation. I taught her, as I teach you now, that reality is shaped from within, that feeling is the cause, not effect. She left with a light in her eyes, determined to assume abundance. That night, she did not imagine piles of money or elaborate scenes. She assumed the feeling of freedom, the sensation of walking through life unburdened, the peace of being provided for, the simplicity of saying yes to small pleasures without calculating the cost. She drifted to sleep in that feeling. The next morning, nothing had changed externally. She still woke in the same small room, with the same job, the same obligations. But instead of collapsing back into lack, she persisted in the new state. For days, for weeks, she held to the feeling. Then, without warning, events shifted in rapid succession. An uncle she had never spoken to left her a sizable inheritance. A colleague connected her with an opportunity that doubled her income. Debts dissolved. She moved into a larger home and wrote to me saying, "It happened all at once, as though the world had been waiting for permission." What she called sudden was not sudden. It was simply the moment the invisible became visible. The harvest burst through the soil. She ignored appearances long enough to let the seed mature. You must do the same. If you assume the feeling tonight, but tomorrow look outward and say, "Where is it?" then you confess you never assumed it. To assume is to know. To know is to rest. To rest is to refuse the tyranny of appearances. Train yourself not to react to the world as though it holds power over you. The world is your servant, not your master. When you catch yourself checking for evidence, pause. Return to the feeling. When doubt whispers, nothing is changing, answer with silence. Doubt is best defeated, not by argument, but by indifference. When fear says, "What if it never happens?" smile gently, for the question proves nothing except that the old state is dying. Stand firm in the unseen. Live in the end. Let the world take its time, for what is real within must sooner or later harden into fact. When the inner state has truly shifted, it begins to express itself not only in imagination, but in behavior. Quietly, effortlessly, without rehearsal. You will know you have entered the end, not by external proof, but by the subtle transformation of your own conduct. A man who has does not behave like a man who seeks. A man who is does not move like a man who hopes to become. You may notice changes first in the smallest gestures. Your posture straightens, not as a performance, but as a natural expression of inner certainty. You speak with less urgency, for urgency belongs to those who fear time may run out. You make decisions with greater ease, because the one who already has does not bargain with life. You stop asking, "How will it come?" for such questions belong to the old state. The one who lives in the end is uninterested in process. He knows the result is already secured. When an opportunity appears, you no longer view it as salvation, but as confirmation. When a door closes, you no longer collapse into despair, for the end itself has not been touched. You remain unmoved. Many believe that embodying the end means acting wealthy, dressing wealthy, speaking wealthy. But that is mimicry, imitation, the shadow, rather than the substance. True embodiment begins not with performance, but with being. From being, behavior flows. You may discover that you no longer speak of lack, not out of discipline, but because it feels foreign to your nature. Conversations rooted in worry no longer interest you, not because you silence yourself, but because you no longer identify with the worries. You cease to ask, for reassurance. You cease to look for signs. You cease to measure progress. One of the greatest signs that you have entered the new state is the disappearance of anxiety. The mind grows quiet, not because the world has changed, but because you have. When you possess something inwardly, the desire to chase it outwardly dissolves. What once was a longing becomes a memory. The desire no longer burns with desperation. Instead, it rests with familiarity. The thought of your wish brings not excitement, but peace, because peace is the natural atmosphere of what is already yours. Another sign is the softening of effort. You no longer force visualizations or recite endless affirmations as though wrestling reality into submission. You assume, you feel, and you continue about your day. The new state becomes as effortless as breathing. You do not try to maintain it. You simply return to it when remembered, the way a man returns to his home after wandering. And perhaps the most profound sign of embodiment is indifference to evidence. You no longer scan the world for proof. You no longer ask, is it working? You no longer rush to compare today with yesterday. You have become the end, and what you are must be expressed. When this shift occurs, life becomes strangely simple. Decisions that once tormented you resolve themselves. You choose differently, not to create the new reality, but because you are the new reality. What once required discipline now feels natural. What once felt distant now feels inevitable. Do not force these signs. Do not pretend to embody the end. Pretending belongs to those who still believe they lack. Instead, return to the feeling until the feeling becomes identity. When it does, your actions will align without effort. This is the true meaning of living in the end. Not acting as though it is true, but being the one for whom it is true. And when you are that one, the world has no choice but to rearrange itself in your image. Tonight, as you prepare to sleep, I want you to understand that you stand at the edge of creation. The hours before dawn, the rituals of the day, the actions you take, these are secondary. The true work, the deepest work, is done in the silence of night, when the conscious mind grows still and the subconscious stands open. Lie down just as you always do. Do not make the position ceremonial. Do not try to construct a sacred posture. The sacredness is not in the body. It is in the state. Allow your spine to settle into the mattress, the limbs to grow heavy, your breath to soften. You are not trying to sleep. You are simply letting go. Let the weight of the day fall from your shoulders. Every memory, every concern, every unfinished task, let them drift into the background like fading echoes. You may hear the faint hum of the night or the soft rhythm of your own breath. Do not fight these sounds. Let them carry you inward. Now close your eyes gently, not with tension, not as an order, but as a surrender. As the body relaxes, say softly within yourself, nothing outside of me has power over me. I am now entering the creative state. What I feel here becomes my world. Say it slowly. Let the words soak into the silence. Do not visualize the process. Do not think of how your desire will come. Simply begin to feel the world as it would be if you had already received what you seek. If your desire is abundance, do not force images of wealth. Instead, feel the relief of being provided for. Feel the gentle ease in your chest. Feel the absence of worry. Feel the simple, quiet knowing that all needs are met. If your desire is love, do not paint faces. Feel the warmth of being chosen. Feel the comfort of belonging. Feel the sensation of someone reaching for your hand. Not the hand itself, but the meaning behind the touch. If your desire is health, do not strain to imagine organs or processes. Feel the lightness in your limbs. Feel breath moving freely. Feel yourself rising in the morning, renewed, energized, whole. Now take this feeling and allow it to settle in the body, not floating above you, not imagined outside of you, but lived through you. Let the feeling become so natural that you no longer question it. Let it feel like memory, not fantasy. When doubt tries to speak, do not resist it. Let it pass like clouds, moving across a sky that remains unchanged beneath them. Now whisper, slowly, as though recalling something already completed, it is done. I already am. I need no proof. I feel the truth. Pause, breathe, sink deeper. You are now on the threshold of sleep. The edges of the body blur. The mind drifts. The conscious guard falls away. Do not cling to wakefulness. Allow sleep to take you while holding the feeling as gently as one cradles a newborn. Not forcing, not repeating mechanically, simply resting in the satisfaction of fulfillment. And as sleep begins to claim you, say in a fading whisper, I am the one who already has. My feeling is the fact. I sleep in the wish fulfilled. Do not open your eyes again. Let that be the final impression upon your mind. Your subconscious will take the feeling you offer and express it without strain, without delay, without confusion. The world will rearrange itself to match the state in which you sleep. This is the ritual. Tonight you do not hope. Tonight you become. There comes a moment in this journey when you begin to realize that manifestation, wonderful as it is not the highest gift, it is only the beginning. To create wealth, to draw health, to summon opportunities, these are small signs of a greater truth, that the power which creates is your own wonderful human imagination. The law governs the world of things, of conditions, of experiences. The law allows you to shape life according to your will. But beyond the law stands the promise, the revelation of who you truly are. Many come to these teachings seeking possessions, money, love, comfort, healing. And there is nothing unworthy in that. The child must first learn that he may ask, and it shall be given. But once he receives, once the law obeys him, a deeper hunger arises, not to possess, but to know the one who possesses. It is written, be still and know that I am God. I did not teach this as poetry. I lived it as fact. The same imagination that shapes your dreams at night is the very power that created the world. The same consciousness that assumes a state and watches it unfold in time is the consciousness that said, let there be light. When you manifest a desire, you are not performing magic, you are remembering. The greatest mystery is not that you can create wealth, but that the creator of wealth is you. And when you finally rest in that truth, when you realize nothing is external, nothing is separate, nothing is withheld, manifestation becomes effortless, not because you no longer care, but because you no longer feel lack. You begin to desire differently. You seek not to change your world, but to awaken in it. The promise whispers to you in subtle ways, through intuition, through synchronicity, through moments of profound stillness, where you feel yourself expanded beyond the body. There will come a night when you feel yourself born from within your skull, as from a tomb. You will rise, and the world around you will be transformed, not because your circumstances changed, but because your identity did. When you know yourself as the source, the desire for proof fades away. So tonight, as you drift into sleep with the feeling of the wish fulfilled, understand that you are practicing not merely the mechanics of creation. You are remembering your authorship. Every assumption is a brushstroke upon the canvas of eternity. Do not be impressed by what you manifest. Be impressed by the one who manifests. And as you lie in darkness tonight, with the body growing still and the breath softening, speak not as a beggar, nor as a seeker, but as one awakening to his inheritance. Feel it now, for what you accept as true in the silence of your heart shall be counted unto you for righteousness. Rest, knowing it is done. Rest, knowing you are the one who speaks the word. Rest, knowing the world shall echo your inner command. Good night.